Okay, if you remember from last time that we have started discussing about simple harmonic oscillator. So this lecture I will talk about basically the methods of solving this problem. And as I argued that even though this problem is a very specific potential, which is half m omega square x square, we need not think about this as a thing for this only this specific potential. It is basically for a large class of potentials which is of this structure, and we are looking at near the minima. And since we are looking at near the minima, we can always do the Taylor expansion, and the first derivative drops out to be zero, and the second derivative terms is a potential of this kind of functional form. So now we will discuss that how to solve this equation. Or alternatively, you can just think it as a simple oscillator problem, some kind of mass spring problem or a pendulum problem. It's quantum mechanical version of that. So that is the one way to think, but its problem is much more than just the potential. It is a much more generic problem. Okay? So let's start solving at looking at the solution of this equation, and we will discuss two methods of solving it. One is the series solution method, which you must have learned in the mathematical methods course already, and other is the algebraic method, which is likely to be new for you, although both are quite easy and simple. I mean, the algebraic method is also quite simple. Technically everything is very simple, I mean, based on what you know and all that, but the idea of why you should do that particular thing for a given physical situation is the key thing to understand and to internalize. Okay, so this is the equation we want to solve. As I argued earlier, that it is the static Schrodinger equation that is what we want to solve, because that will help us to understand a lot about the dynamics and many other aspects of the system. So we'll start with the static equation. So now I want to do a bit of cleaning up of this. I mean, clean up this equation because it looks a bit messy. Because one thing you can see that the left hand side is a energy times psi. So the right hand side must also be energy times psi. But it is not so easy to see that, because you can see here is you have a natural constant that is divided by a mass, and there you have a derivative where the x square appears in denominator, here the x square appears in numerator. There is a dimension of time, 1 by time, and all these factors are messed up. So it's not so easy, not so clean to see that why this equation is why this side is also a energy times psi. Okay, so we'll try to clean the equation a bit to make this fact point that both sides are basically a energy times psi, and to make this point manifest. Okay? That is the purpose. So we can simplify this, as I said, that the first thing to note is the unit of psi doesn't matter, because it is appearing at both sides. And the left side is, right side is of course energy times psi, the left side must be also energy times psi. Okay? So LHS is some constant times psi. So the RHS, an operator times psi, which must be also same. How is this same as that? That is what we want to manifest. So to do that, the strategy could be you go to a new unit such that, or a unit free coordinate such that energy of the system comes out as common prefactor in left hand side. That is our agenda. Okay, so let's see how can I do that. Now notice what we can play with here. The energy is fixed, it's a object of fixed dimension. What is it? Yeah, so somebody is joining from outside again. Who is that? Yeah, don't do that. I mean, it's very distracting for me. I mean, I have to go and give the permission and all. It's distracting for me from the class. I don't care if you are joining midway, halfway, anyway. Just the notification distracts me. Okay. So now this we want to go to. Okay, I lost the stream of my thought again. So the new unit free coordinate must be such that the equation is manifestedly energy times psi. Okay, that is what we want. So what are the objects I have to play with? As I said, you can see here clearly that the psi unit doesn't matter. The energy is, has some fixed dimension. Again, here this object is a constant, this object is a constant. So the only guy you can play with is the x. So let's play with the x and transform x into a unit free coordinate to manifest this energy factor. So one way you can do that is write is x as some a times u, where a has the dimension of L. So then u must be a number. Okay, so u is a dimension free number. That is our goal. And as you notice that what was our agenda? Our agenda to make the energy unit coming out from the on the right hand side. So this factor, this guy, which is a, will come out here, and this guy, these two must match. So I demand it must be 2ma square of m omega square a square. That tells me the a must be h cut by 12. So that tells me what the a must be in order to make it dimension free and bring out the energy factor like that. So then it tells me this first term must be h cut omega by 2 by plugging in this a, by plugging this a here. And the second term is also h cut omega. So this simple move now gave me what I wanted, which means make the left hand side and both of side manifestedly as some operator which is energy times psi. Okay. So then now usually if you look at a book, they will just give you this mechanism, but they will not give you that why are you doing it. Okay. So this is the reason you are doing. You want to make it manifestedly this energy times psi, the operator. V2 side u h cut omega e square by 2 psi equal to e psi. So now I just want to, I can rewrite it as minus d2 psi d2 plus e square psi equal to some u psi. Now this e is basically energy with in a unit free coordinate, because this e is nothing but 2e by h cut omega. Since it is both energy dimension, it is a energy unit free quantity. Now the whole equation is now unit free. So there are two purposes being served here. One is to make the whole thing look manifestedly, it looks very clean and manifestedly as energy times psi. Unit free. This is the purpose.
Sir, isn't
of
it E epsilon into psi? It's you have written epsilon u. Just last part.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for being careful. Yeah, you are correct. Okay, so now this, if you look at stare at it just at a differential equation, you would expect that for any epsilon there must be a solution. Okay? And the solution is need not be normalizable. So you will notice that it's not normalizable. You can solve it in many ways, but it is not always normalizable for all epsilon. Okay? And that will give you, that will tell you that the epsilon is quantized, which means not all epsilon is allowed. Okay? I will come in a moment that how you can very clearly see this. So there are two things come out from this equation. If you just stare at it as a differential equation, that any epsilon there is just a solution, but only for certain epsilon is normalizable and a physical solution. So as far as pure mathematical point of view it is concerned, you can see the effect of quantization, or you can see quantization. But to see exactly how it pops out from the structure of this problem, that is what we will do next. Okay. So let's try to, now this is our starting point. And then let's start to understand how the solution of this guy is going to look. So to do that, we'll first do the limiting case. Consider u going to infinity. Because u going to infinity is an interesting case here because the function, the potential itself is infinity at infinity. So particle cannot go there. So it's like a bound state. It's already a bound state that we can see clearly. But let's try to see how, what does it tells us about the solution. So let's look at this. Sorry, there's a typo. Because the u is very large, so I can remove by that sign. So this tells you this can't be a polynomial solution. Because with 2 times derivative, you cannot get this q squared psi form. So it has to be an exponential solution that can, in principle can, we don't know yet whether it should by physical reason, that can accommodate a polynomial as multiplicative factors. Now you might feel when I write such things, you might feel it is not so obvious. And the reason is this kind of algebra. So this today's lecture will be heavy in algebra and calculation and mathematics. And it is like watching a very nice like an HD action movie, and someone, instead of watching the movie, someone is narrating you the story. You won't get the full feel of the movie, right? You have to go to the movie hall. It's not even enough to watch it in a screen, computer screen. You have to go to the movie hall, watch it in 4K, Dolby Digital, and all. Then only you will get the feeling. So if I narrate the algebra, you won't understand what is going on. I'm going to show you everything, but that doesn't mean you will get a feel of what is going on. To get a feel of what is going on, you have to go to the movie hall, which means you have to do the calculation yourself in this case. So you might feel in certain case I'm making a statement which is not immediately obvious to you. That's bound to happen. You have to play with it. You have to spend some time thinking about it. So it could be one such statement is that why I'm saying this. I mean, you have to just check with the solution that what kind of solution is possible. But physically, you can argue very quickly a polynomial cannot be there because a bound state polynomial will blow up at infinity. So it cannot be a polynomial. It has to be something which is bounded in a region. So it has to be an exponential form. Okay. So, but it can, in principle, it can be modulated by a polynomial as a multiplicative prefactor. So this kind of thing you can say even without calculation, if only after you have spent some time with the calculation and have some kind of a gut feeling that what the solution is going to look like. So based on these two observations, we start with the trial solution. The trial solution is following. Because I said it has to be an exponential and it can be multiplied by a polynomial. So I multiply it by a generic power function. So if I plug this into this guy, then what I'll get? And this alpha, now if I compare this with this original equation, it can fit only if the alpha is plus minus 1. So therefore, as u goes to infinity, then the solution must be of this form. That's I u a u to the power k e to the power minus u square by 2 plus b u to the power k u to the power u square by 2. Because alpha is plus minus 1. Right? But this part cannot be there because as u goes to infinity, this part is going to blow up either way. So this is an unphysical part because it diverges. So we must say that b is 0. So now what we have some psi u, which we can rewrite is as some h u e to the power minus I u square. Now I will argue it two different ways that why this h u must be polynomial, but I argued it already because this is the form which gives you the reasonable bound state solution. So one way to argue is this. So it is any polynomial. I'll show you another way of arguing this. U is a solution. So this must be the form. you might be wondering that whether I'm making a lot of approximation here. It turns out I am not. So I can alternatively, I can also say, so without loss of any generality, I can alternatively say HU is psi u, this psi u is psi u e to the power u square by 2 to the power minus u square by 2. So I did nothing. I just made u square by 2, u square minus u by 2. But then I can say this guy is my HU. That is an alternative way, this is my HU. But this is not a polynomial. And then I will argue that if I assume it is some HU, without knowing that it is a polynomial from other asymptotic limit solution, I will show next that I will land on the conclusion that it has to be polynomial. It is because of the bound state. So now, so what is the purpose of doing that? So here, the next step, what we are expecting today. So we know one part of the solution in a very precise form. We know the e to the power minus u square part. We don't know yet what is the HU. We just argued that it might be a polynomial. It should be a polynomial from the asymptote. So we expect, so we are hoping to get a differential equation for HU, which we want to solve and know the precise form of HU. And we are also hoping for HU that is simpler, because that way the solution is simpler. That is simpler. The equation is simpler with a simpler solution. That is what we are hoping. Let's say whether we get there. And as I said, we want that HU to be a polynomial from asymptotic solution. Okay. Such that the large U behavior, large U, psi U is not a polynomial. This is the structure of the solution I am expecting. So now let's plug in this particular form. So let's plug in this psi u HU e to the power u square by 2 minus u square by 2 into this equation. Okay. And then if I plug in this, you will just one line of algebra. To do this, you will see you will get the following structure. You will get the following equation for the H2 polynomial. So now I have to solve this equation to know what is the H. Now we argued that H is a polynomial. So we know that from asymptotic. But let's not assume that. Let's land on that. So we know that H is polynomial. But I can also give it a generic series solution structure. Or you can say any function, nice behaving function, can be expanded in Taylor series. So I can say it is of some form. Or you can just say it is just some infinite series. Need not be a finite order polynomial. So the first term, now in this equation, you can see it's a second derivative term. Okay. So the first term is of order u to the power j minus 2. So that means the coefficient of u to the power j and u to the power j minus 1 must be 0. So this implies coefficient of u to the power j and u to the power j minus 1 must be 0. Okay. So what is the coefficient of u to the power j then? So if I plug in this form into this, you will see that the coefficient of u to the power j is minus 2j plus epsilon minus 1. And that tells me v is 2j plus 1. This is your quantization. So this criteria gives you the quantization. So this tells you that the energy cannot be arbitrary. This energy means the dimensionless energy. It's a integer. that integer is given by 2j plus 1. Okay. Now you might be wondering that where is all this structure coming from? Notice all this structure is coming from this crucial form which we got by assuming that the wave function is bounded. Okay. It cannot go to, so it must be psi u must go to 0 or psi x must go to 0 as x going to infinity. That is where all this is coming from. And that is what we know already, because if the wave function is bounded, we know bound states have positive energy and it can be quantized. So it's not necessarily always quantized, but it can be quantized. Quantization comes from something new. Okay. Now let's try to see. There is one more thing we know from the theorems. We know that if an event potential, the bound state will be either even or odd. So this is what we'll see also. Let's see how we'll get that. Okay. So we know now what is the coefficient of uj minus 1. That must be. So do these 2-3 lines of algebra, okay? Just put it here and do this. If I do all this simple algebra, then we'll never finish the syllabus. So I'm just jumping some small steps here. Using the previous condition, it tells you the alpha 1. So this is the 2 point which emerges from here immediately just by the order of this equation. I'll do it a little more systematically in a moment. And there is another thing to notice is that is HU, now that the alpha 1 is 0, it must be of this form, uj alpha 2, because 1 is 0, uj minus 2 and so on. Okay. And we will see immediately there are ordered, it goes in a one less order. Like the odd orders are not there, odd or even, whatever, depending on what is your j. And that comes from the fact, and you can show it by going further. I will show it a little more formally in a moment. It comes from the fact that we know for an event potential, bound states are either even or odd. That is why you will find a solution which has one order missing. And you already know that u minus u square by 2 is already an even function. And the whole solution is HU times that. Okay? So it all depends on HU, whether it is odd or even. Okay? And then that's why the structure has to be like that, which means the alpha 1 has to vanish. It doesn't tell you whether it is odd or even, but it tells you it is either of one of them, not both. So there is a lot of things. So notice I have not yet started to formally solve it, but there is a lot of things I can say by simple staring at the equation and by looking at the simple logic of the solution, simple structure of the solution. We look at a lot of constants, and all these constants are coming because of the fact that the wave function is bounded. Okay. I hope everything is making sense. Even if you are not following a sub-step of a algebra, you should be able to follow the key points. If not, you should stop me and ask that which point you didn't follow. Now let's do this whole thing more systematically. All right. So to do that, I will give a general structure without assuming anything further. That it's some series solution, which you have done already. A k u to the power 2. That k could be anything. It can be like 0 to infinity. So then I plug that in this equation. Sorry, d2h du2 minus 2h dh du plus epsilon minus 1. So now let's look at the coefficient of aj. That is how you solve these series solutions. So it must be j plus 2, j plus 1, aj plus 2 minus 2j aj plus epsilon minus 1 j equal to 0. J is 0, 1, 2. So that tells me aj plus 2, 2j plus 1 minus epsilon, j plus 2, j plus 1. So this is the relation I get between j and j plus 2. And you notice that relation is always between and one power with one power apart, which means if you start with a0, the solution you will get is a0 plus a2u square plus a4u to the power 4 and so on. And if you start with a1, you will get a1u plus a3u cube plus a5 a to the power 5 and so on. Both are valid solution. So both are valid solution for any upside. Now, in order to know the solution, you have to know the full solution. You have to know both the H, A naught and A naught. Okay? And the A naught is nothing but, so if you look at this series, the A naught is nothing but H naught and A1 is nothing but H prime naught. This is the second order. And you know this is like this, two boundary conditions of the second order differential. You need to know two constants, right, to solve a second order differential equation. Now comes to the, now we will try to argue that why this must be a polynomial. The H must be a polynomial from a completely different and more general perspective. Earlier we argued that from a physical point of view. Now we will do a more mathematical point of view. So we know that for an acceptable energy eigenvalue, energy eigenstate, J must be finite, because otherwise this guy will blow up at infinity. So for large J, that tells me for large J what happens. So if I take J very large, I can approximate this relation to AJ plus 2 AJ 2 by J. Now notice that this structure is also present in the e to the power u square form. This is actually the form of e square form. So let's note that there's a side note. E to the power u square is basically I can rewrite this in this familiar notation where J is even. So for this series, if I call this guy C, it is Cj plus 2, Cj is 2 by J. So asymptotically, I can say that the psi u is some hu e to the power minus u square. So this hu asymptotically, if I take the full series, this hu is basically like e to the power u square. E to the power u square. And this part is minus u square by 2. So this whole thing is e to the power u square by 2. That is not an acceptable solution. We have argued it earlier. Because we cannot have the solution which blows up. It has to be e to the power minus e square, because then it is something like this. And u square will blow up at infinity. That cannot happen. So this is not an acceptable solution. So what's the way out? The way out is you cannot let this guy go to infinity. If this guy go to infinity, here also, if it does go to infinity, then it takes the form of a u square, e to the power e square. So then the hu must be terminated somewhere. It cannot be an infinite solution. It is an alternative way to arrive at the point that hu must be polynomial. The solution of this problem is must be polynomial. And we know a termination, we want a termination condition. Must be polynomial. And recursion relation must terminate. This is required to get a energy eigenstate of this problem, energy eigenstate for this problem, which is a physical bound state. So now, what is the termination condition? So the termination condition simply tells you that this guy has to vanish at some point, somewhere. So that will give us a quantization. So how does it look like? So the recursion relation now will look like this. And the termination condition is given by HU must be a polynomial. That means it terminates such that it must be some aj is not equal to 0, but the next aj is 0. That must happen. In order that to happen, this guy must be. Okay. So the solutions could be even. That means the j could be even. So it could be even, or j even, or odd, or j. So that is basically the criteria. So if the solution is even, so whether j is even or odd, there is always a solution, and the even one is with energy 2j plus 1, and the odd is also energy 2j plus 1. Now, if I have a given 2j plus 1, so let's say I have a energy that is a given 2j plus 1, the same solution will not terminate the odd. So it is either one of the solution is an eigenstate, the other is not. Okay. So that 2j plus 1 that made for a given particular choice of 2j plus 1 that made the even solution terminate will not, which it simply says both the even and odd are not the solution at the same time, and that is in accordance with the theorem. It tells you if my potential is even, the solution is either even or odd, not both. Not both in the sense, not a mixture of both. It cannot be of both. So the even solution 2j plus 1 that made the even solution terminate will not do the same for all. So this is the criteria. And again, like second solution. So the second solution is not a eigenstate. That means it will have this infinite series problem. I hope you understand what do I mean by that. It just means that if I have a particular choice of 2j plus 1, some, let's say j equal to 3 or something, the condition that terminates this series will only terminate the even series or not the odd series, and vice versa. So for a particular given choice, which means only one particular set of solution is a valid solution for a given 2j plus 1. Okay? So that is basically the meaning of this statement. And the better to express it, so since there are two different j's, so I express is degree of solution. I rather use a different notation called n. So degree of solution is dubbed as n. So now I will call the epsilon is nothing but 2n plus 1, where n can be anything. It is just an integer. But once you choose the n, then the series will be either even or odd, because the solution is of this form. A n minus 2, h u n minus 2, and dot 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 dot. So in the full solution, this hn is of course not the full solution. The full solution is hn u e to the power minus u squared by 2. So this is your full solution. Now you can go from here. You can now go back to the actual unit of energy. So the energy is now h cap omega by 2 epsilon, which is 2n plus 1 h cap omega by 2. So En nothing but, I can put the n suffix here. Okay. And the solution is basically this form is known as Hermite polynomial. So different kind of differential equation, you will set up a different equation. This particular thing is known as Hermite polynomial, and it has this. So you will learn. I think you have learned it in great detail in math methods. That 2 to the power n e to the power n plus 2. So it is a solution of a differential equation which is of this form. Minus 2u dht. This is exactly your equation. is 0, where H0u is 1, H1u is 2u, H2u is 4u square minus 2, HCu is 8u cubed minus 12u, and so on. Okay. Now we can go back to the original form, the original dimension. So everything now we go back to the original dimension of the problem, because we made the problem dimension free at some point. So the original dimension is n plus half h cut omega, and psi n x is some normalization. I will write in a moment what is that. So the u is x m omega by h cut e to the power minus m omega u square. And this guy, if you do the normalization, which means if you do this psi n x mod square dx equal to 1, after a little bit of algebra, you will find this guy is fourth power of m omega by h cut pi 1 by 2 to the power n factorial. So this is your full solution. So how does this solution look like? If I plot it with the potential, this look like, this is the ground state, this is the first state. Oops, I did it wrong. Now notice that it is not anything surprising to you. N equal to 2, n equal to 3, and so on, because you know also this from the node theorem. At least you know how many nodes should be there, and from there you can construct. And from there you can also go to the usual picture. So all these things you can sketch all these, you can keep it in memory without solving anything if you understand. But the solution gives you a lot of structure and idea about how to solve this kind of problem. So this is the psi n, and here you can, usually in books you will find the Pn, and you can simply draw the Pn. The Pn is simple. This is just a square. This is just have two humps, and so on. There will be no negative part because it's a square. So this is basically the full solution of the harmonic oscillator problem using the series method or using the differential equation method. Now let me take a pause and see if there is any question at this point before I discuss a different way to solve this problem. Any questions? Everything is super clear, or nothing is clear and everything is too fuzzy? I mean, you must have done this kind of solution in your own hand. That's why you have gone a little fast today, because you have done this thing in mathematical methods, the series solution, as you said last time, and some of you done the whole thing, the IPHDs. So I hope you don't need to some hand holding for these small steps. So you can understand the basic spirit of the solution and how do you land, how do you proceed with various physical argument and mathematical argument at each stage. Let me pause for 1 minute to ask questions. Is everything super clear? Any questions, comment? By the way, did they declare the Nobel Prize? I'm very curious. Who got it? Which subject are these people? Can someone tell me who got this? Oh, they didn't declare. Okay, yeah, they delay every time. Anyways, good. It's exciting. Okay, everything is super clear, right? So let's, yeah, you must have got delay. Yeah, let's return to the subject. Very good. As you must have noticed that the course is getting easier. That is what I told you, it will happen. If you face the rough water of the first phase of the course, which means by solving problems, spending a lot of time arguing about it, listening it multiple times, like once pre-recorded, once in the classroom discussion, where you come up with a question, and even if you don't have a question, someone else has a question, that discussion is also very useful for you to have a clarity of the subject. If you have sincerely done that part, this part, the course will get easier every day. This is a exceptional situation. It only happens in quantum mechanics. Other course gets difficult with time. Okay. So now let's go to the algebraic method. So this method, so let me give a little bit of prelude that where does this method come from and why do you do it like that. This again, this discussion you will not find it any book. I think you will get an idea if you read Dirac. So Dirac was the creator of this approach to solve quantum mechanics problem. And I mean, Dirac was a master of formalisms. So he unified these two pictures, wave mechanics and matrix mechanics, into this way to think about, think in terms of a unified formalism, where this matrix mechanics, wave mechanics appears as manifestation of one big picture, which is this bracket formalism. And then he also came up with an alternative way of thinking, which we know today as second quantization. But it has a prelude, so I will not go into the full discussion of second quantization because and that will come to quantum 2. But to get an idea about how that structure is useful, we will do it as a convenient mathematical trick here. Okay? But it leads to a whole different way of thinking about quantum mechanics, and is especially useful in many particle quantum mechanics. So any one of you who will go into research in many particle quantum mechanics or any form, high energy, low energy, condensed matter, this is the language you will use. Okay? This the language which we are introducing. Manabe and Hasselman. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so what happened is that my laptop screen died, and died means some update started and I didn't pre-schedule it, so it was completely out of control, and it will take several minutes to do. So I have to do the rest of the class on the tablet only, and if it is not a problem, if you can hear everything clearly, let me know. So can you hear everything clearly?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, sir. We can hear everything.
Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, just a minute. So much disturbance today. Okay, so let me go to my screen. Okay, so as I said, this is the algebraic method for quantum mechanics, or solving a particular class of problem. Although I will demonstrate it only for harmonic oscillator, but this is actually useful for a wide range of different problems, not just harmonic oscillator. So, oops, just a moment. Give me a minute. By the way, it's cool that they gave it finally to these complex systems. Every year it goes to either all these fundamental interactions or astrophysics. Finally, they recognize the complex systems also. Just a moment. Huh? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there is a lot of external noise with this thing. That's why it is still better to talk using this. Okay, sorry for the disruption. Okay, so now we will talk about a different alternative method, which is this algebraic method of solving quantum mechanics problem. Now you might, again, as I said, that this way of thinking was introduced by Dirac, and it was Dirac was the father of these two different mechanism way of thinking or formalism. One is second quantization, another is this bracket formalism, and it leads to a whole new idea called Fock space. So let's try to tell you that how one can land on such an idea. So this is actually it's not discussed in any book or anywhere, but if you read Dirac's paper, initial paper, and maybe partly in Dirac's book, you will see that he will try to tell you that why did he lead to think in this way. Okay, that is very important. If once someone tell you that this is how you should solve this problem, then it is very easy to see why it is that way. But how did someone first landed on this is very important to understand. So this algebraic method comes, the idea is already hidden in the classical mechanics, the structure of classical mechanics. So let's look at the Hamiltonian of the harmonic oscillator in classical mechanics and write down its Poisson bracket or Hamilton equation, which comes from the Poisson bracket formula. So I'm writing it in terms of this QH square bracket, but it is actually, I mean, Poisson bracket. So this is the Poisson bracket differential equation. So P dot X dot is P by, or it's a Hamilton equation. It's basically minus M. Now you can alternatively give it a linear algebra structure. 0, 1 by M minus M omega square 0 XP. Okay. Now notice that this equation is a coupled differential equation, which means the X is related to P and P is related to X, and that is why it is, because it's originally the Newton's equation is a second order differential equation, which you are writing as a pair of first order equation. That is why it is coming into this form. Now the idea is to, how do you find a solution of this? So to do that, you have to diagonalize this matrix. Okay, diagonalize this 2 by 2 matrix. Okay? That should be the strategy. Then you know a clear solution, which is X is related to X, and then you can find the solution of simple first order equations. And in order to do that, you also want to make it dimensionless. So this is exactly the same strategy as before. Dimensionless. Okay. So how do you do that? This is a 2 by 2 matrix, which means you have to do some kind of a rotation. So we go to a defined basis, which is, notice it is actually a 2n by 2n matrix, not 2 by 2 for n particle system, because it is x1, x2, x3, p1, p2. That way you can also think it that way. And then also the same mechanism follows. But for simplicity, let's just think it's a simple 1D harmonic oscillator, and therefore it's a 2 by 2 matrix, and it's a 2-dimensional matrix equation. So I do this transformation, P plus I n omega x. Now you might wonder that why did I bring a H cut when I'm doing a classical mechanics problem? So for time being, let's just assume it's some object with a dimension of energy. Let's not call it an H cut, but we'll see if we do call it H cut, everything looks much more simple. So it's some object of dimension energy of which you have some constant which we know to be H cut, which has the same dimension. And if I write do a variable transformation, then I can rewrite this pair of coupled differential equation as a single differential equation whose each entry is this object, which is a mix of this. It's effectively a matrix diagonal. Omega square x plus I omega, which is nothing but I omega b, because that is how I define it. Or alternatively, I can define a quantity called b dagger. At this point, I don't know what is, sorry, I should not write it in this way. I write it, yeah, b dagger. So I will define another quantity b dagger, which is 2m h cut omega e minus I omega x. So that means the b dagger must satisfy this equation I omega theta. What is this b dagger? Now, if you know the full formalism, this b dagger has is like a dagger operator. But let's just, in classical mechanics, there is no operator like dagger operator. It just means you take a complex conjugate. So if you do this, you get a very simple first order differential equation whose solution is very trivial. Okay? Because the solution is nothing but bt b0 e to the power I omega t. So dynamics is very trivial. So this agenda of diagonalizing this coupled equation and making it a simple first order differential equation, when that is applied here, it leads to a whole defined formalism. Now you will see later that it leads to a very defined way of thinking about the problem that I'll tell a glimpse of that in this course, but mostly we'll learn it in second course of quantum mechanics. So let's go on to discuss what does it mean here. So h cut omega. So let's see what is this quantity h cut omega b dagger v. You will see that this quantity is nothing but e minus I m omega x e plus I m omega x. It is half by 2m e square plus m omega square x square plus I m omega px minus x. Now, in classical mechanics, this quantity is 0. But we know that if I give it a operator status, then this quantity is not necessarily 0. So then this quantity is h cut plus half h cut omega, because this is simply xp from 2, which is I h bar. So px is minus I h bar, and that's how we get this. So now you can rewrite this guy. Now notice it is basically I'm factorizing the Hamiltonian. H minus half h cut omega. H cut omega, you can also do VB dagger. So h. So this is plus, this is minus. And this must satisfy the relation that B dagger B minus BB dagger is 1. Because if you just subtract these two, that is what you will get. So this is basically the outline, and that is where I'll stop for today, and I will take the rest of the mechanism and formalism of this ladder operator and algebraic operator business tomorrow on Thursday. But this is the outline to do this, and notice that you can do it for any Hamiltonian of this form. So you can do this particular, you can play this game of factorizing. If I have any Hamiltonian of this form, okay, you can play this game of p by root 2m plus ibx p by root 2m minus I. Okay. You call it some, let me call it u, because b is already there, u. Now, in principle, you can do that, but that doesn't mean it is always easy to carry out this program. So that is why it is particularly simple for here, because the bx is of the sum number times x square. So it is basically x plus ip, x minus ip, a very simple form, but it is not always easy to execute that program. And it leads to a very interesting structure in your theory. It's called supersymmetry, where you do that for many other general potential. So that all those things we can learn and discuss later, but it is just an extension of this idea, which is particularly suitable in harmonic oscillator. And I just give you a glimpse of the idea, that how the idea came into being and how it is might be useful. And tomorrow we'll apply this full machinery to land on the same solution which we got by the series solution method. So that is all. That is all for today. So now, so the in PhD student, which date did we decide for your office hour? Was it today or tomorrow or Thursday? The in PhD students, are you there? No in PhD student is here. Okay. Can you hear me at all? Yeah. So why? What took you so long to say? I mean, we don't have all day infinite time, right? You can just simply say you are around. So which day did we decide for this office hour for in PhD? Was it today or Thursday?
Sir, it is possible for Friday.
I mean, why it is so? I mean, I don't understand. What is the problem for you to speak or write? I mean,
Sir, Friday is possible.
anyways, that's all for today then. No, I'm not asking when it is better. I'm asking when did we decide last time? Did we decide it on Thursday or we decided it on today?
Sir, Thursday, sir. Thursday.
You want it on Thursday? Okay, fine. So Thursday is exclusively in PhD office hour. Okay. So today, is there anyone who has any questions? Do you want any discussion today? Some anybody, not necessarily in PhD, anybody. Okay, good. If no, that's where we stop. That's all for today.